You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is
We'll do it live! Todd goes in, Todd goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there.
Don't face me, bro! It's a trap! I'm a firing believer! Time to Hey, Cherry, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man!
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd to Know Basis Show, airing on Phoenix 92.5 FM and all those other wonderful places on the internet like Spotify. I'm Cian, and with me here this week is Dara. Dara, how you doing?
Ahoy, may the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Yes, and also with you. Yes,
that's a good way to just check the Irish Catholicism because
it's
automatic.
Bingo cards. Yes,
automatic.
There we are. All done. Now we will get into some Star Wars. We'll actually renounce our New Year's resolution to not talk about Star Wars for a while.
Oh, we have to. It's a holiday.
May the 4th.
It's a holiday.
It is. It's a religious holiday. Qui-Gon died for our sins.
No, he died and doomed the whole galaxy.
Well, either way, he was the Irish Jedi, so we'll have to honor him.
That's true. That is very true.
But before we get into all the Star Wars stuff,
yes, sir.
I believe that yourself and Kev went to a lovely Irish convention, which I feel may deserve a bit of good press. So would you like to tell us about your experience?
Absolutely. But before we do, I have to say, okay. Before. So I'm having a look at the Lego website. Now, I don't know if you've had a look at the Lego website and the stuff that they have.
Right.
There's the new TIE Interceptor set. There's a pod racer diorama.
Nice.
And there's a droidica, like the adult Lego set.
That's the big massive ones.
Not a big massive one, more kind of like the adult based one, like the big R2D2 and stuff.
Kind of like the clone helmets and stuff and all
yeah,
that.
Yeah, it's about the same height. But they also have like some cool gifts as well. So like I am not looking forward to going into a Lego shop.
Then don't.
In the next couple of days. I have to. There's double points on everything. And look, if you're listening to this now, so this is going out on Saturday. So it is going out on May 4th.
It's already too late by the time
it's not too late.
This.
No, it's not.
It's the way that the light from the sun is 7 minutes old. He's already been to the Lego shop and back by the time you've heard this.
This is true. So it ends on the 5th, right? Which would be Sunday. And yeah, I know I'm going to go in and just buy all this stuff because it's just like I can't even
you
help
in real
it.
time editing this with the Lego shop bag in your hand.
Because it's from now, which we're recording on a Wednesday.
Like building it, like, oh, my shame.
My shit. You know what it is? It's the coin. So they have like a collector coin showing the Battle of Yavin.
Nice.
And that's what I want.
Oh, God. I wish there was room for Lego in my house.
No, hold on. Just to be clear, there is no room for Lego in my house. There is zero. I have nowhere to put this. Am I going to buy it? Yes.
Your sympathy with me is incredibly limited in that case.
I know. What I'm
just
saying
enjoy the thing that makes you happy. Why burden yourself with this extra level of shame coming entirely from yourself?
I think it goes right back again to the Irish Catholicism thing, where we're just naturally shameful.
I don't remember the commandment about droidica Lego sets.
Ye must not buy droidica Lego. You know what I have to say though? I've been pretty good. I haven't bought the Republic Cruiser, which is like €650 because I just can't. I could never spend that much money on Lego. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I have a line. If it's under €250, then I'll be like, okay, at a push. But I never feel comfortable spending any more than that on
Let
Lego.
he forgive those who trespasses into the Lego shop.
I have to say though, right? Speaking of which, so I was in New York at the start of I was in a couple of states. For anyone who listens to the Wrestling Rewind knows that I was at WrestleMania, but I actually went to like different Lego shops that when I was over there. One was in New York and one is in Orlando. The one in Orlando is not great. It's in Disney Springs. Like it's cool, but you can't really, it has some cool like monuments and stuff outside it, but it's not really great. The one in New York is the single greatest Lego shop I've ever been in. And like our Lego shop, I've warmed to it. I know I was harsh to it at the beginning, Keen, and you were like, Dara,
That's up on the internet forever now.
it is, it is. And I still stand by it, right? I really do. But I have warmed to it to an extent. But then when you go to like a real Lego shop, like the one in Amsterdam, which is
Yeah, I love
unbelievable.
that one.
Oh, the one in Amsterdam is unbelievable. Like it has Escher's staircase, and it's like this is actually amazing. And the one in New York, it has like Ghostbusters and like Times Square done in Lego, and it's just you're and and actually it also has a full scale diorama of Marvel to the Avengers Tower.
Okay.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, I mean, when you actually see what a real Lego shop looks like, and even the one in London's great too. You get why I was a bit disappointed with the Dublin Lego shop. I mean, I know they're trying and the people in there are great and the staff are really good, but you're like, damn, the dioramas, they don't have the same kick.
No,
The arch
it's a
is great,
long,
but
thin passageway, whereas it's
yeah,
not got that like immersive, like there's not
yeah,
tape
yeah.
to play with or things you can explore, little nooks and crannies, like
But I mean, it's not even like there's very few things to differentiate it as an Irish Lego store. And I think it comes back to, I mean, when you're in Amsterdam, they have like the windmills and they have like Van Gogh and stuff. But the Escher staircase is actually unbelievable. Like that
Yeah.
is inspired. That is an inspired choice. Um, and the one in New York as well, having like the Ghostbusters thing and stuff like also inspired. There's not that level of creativity. I mean, I guess that's the thing that annoys me. There isn't like that creative flair that you get in other Lego stores. And in the one in London, they have like the tube done, and it's actually really cool. And I mean, there's a couple of things they could do. Like they have the arch, St. Stephen's Green Arch there, and that's actually I actually really do like that. They have Trinity College and stuff, but it really could be anywhere. It's the same with the Disney Springs one in
Yeah,
Orlando.
the Irish stuff is kind of tucked under the stairs, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I'm not saying leprechauns, but they could have something.
No, but like imagine a big Lego spire in the middle of the shop, say.
Yeah, like the Spire
like,
or
if you walked
GPO
by
or
like a huge like door that looked like something from Trinity College or something, like kind of something immersive, like
yeah, exactly. Like yeah, I actually really like that idea where they have like where the Book of Kells is. You can
yeah,
you can
that'd
go in
be
there and see.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Or hell, have Lego things like say just giant scale Lego made pictures from the Book of Kells on the walls.
that's a really good idea.
Something,
That's a
or
really
even
good
some of
idea.
the glass stuff from St. Patrick's. Something
Yeah,
that kind of really screams, this is the Irish one and this is the only one that's there. Like, yeah.
that's it. Yeah, and I think that hits the nail on the head. It's like, and I probably at the time wasn't able to put it into words, but which is great
Because
when you
you're
do a
happy you
podcast.
have it, but like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the Blanchardstown one is even less inspired. And don't get me wrong, like it's a great little shop. It's cool that it's there. The staff are great. It's wonderful. Blah blah blah. But there's nothing in there to be like, this is an Irish Lego shop. It's even the one in Gatwick. So there's a Lego shop in Gatwick, and it's actually really neat. Like they have like one or two little figures in there, but that screams London. And I think the problem is this gets back to the Lego people in general. Like I mean, I travel around a fair bit. I do the Lego passport thing. I like going to Lego shops. And I do have a higher standard than probably the most normal person. Is like, look, I'm coming here to buy a Lego, which is fair. I mean, that's a normal thing, right? But for me, I'm like, no, I mean, I want to see something cool. It should be like an event. It should be like a reason to go in there.
No, I get you. I went to the Amsterdam Lego shop like 3 times on one trip.
Oh, so
There were
good.
things to play with.
I
Like,
specifically,
If there's
I
nothing
think,
in the Lego shop to do other than buy the Lego, you're not
well, you
going to
know what's
linger
crazy?
there. Like,
It's
yeah.
crazy. Like I went over there around my birthday, and the guys behind the counter actually just gave me a bunch of Lego because it's my birthday. So like,
So
that's awesome.
yeah.
But
Listen, I don't wish to divert you, but we have to talk about the Cork
we're not
and
done
the
yet. We're
Star
not
Wars.
done
We're
yet.
not done.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet. So not only is it
You
May
have 10
4th,
minutes left in this episode.
really?
No, you're
Oh,
fine.
that's like a new record. Dara has derailed the show completely to just talk about one topic. No, also,
It's this always happens. I come up with a plan and we're like, this is the plan. And you go, yes. And then we record. And then you come out with something that was totally not in the plan. I have a list.
okay, hold on. Not only is it Star Wars Day and is it May 4th today, it
Yeah.
also happens to be another nerd holiday. Free comic book day, folks. So here's the thing: if you're listening to this, it's on Friday. It's on Saturday at 5 o'clock. Unfortunately, all the comic book shops are closed now. Um, so you missed
Oh,
out
by the time this goes out.
by the time this goes out. Exactly.
Okay.
So you have kind of missed out. But listen, put it in your calendar every first Saturday in May.
Yeah.
Is Free Comic Book Day. Now, people might not know what that is. Free Comic Book Day is actually awesome. It's where publishers, the big ones and some of the indies get together and give out thousands of free comics to your local comic book shop. So there's a few in Dublin, Forbidden Planet, Subcity, Big Bang, and what's it, Dublin Comics as well. I think they're the four that are in my brain at the moment. Three of which I know actually do the Free Comic Book Day, and I do go to those on Free Comic Book Day. Big Bang specifically and Forbidden Planet usually have like they make an event of. I know Big Bang specifically does out in Dundrum. So shout out to those guys. And yeah, like it's really really cool because they've been doing it for years. I mean, literally like 10, 15 years at this point, and it's great because you meet people who you haven't met before. You get a bunch of comics which you may or may not have bought. They will sometimes, like DC dropped a major issue for Convergence a couple of years ago, which was like wild. And they're also online as well, so you can go on to Free Comic Book or Comicology now, which I think is owned by Amazon. They used to give out free comics as well. So if you missed out for some reason, I know on the Sunday some of these spots might have free comics. It's worth asking, but usually it is just today. So my advice would be if you're like, oh man, that sounds really cool. What I would do is, be aware of it, particularly if you have kids and you want to get them to comics or give them free comics. Every Saturday, like the first Saturday in May every year, that's when they do it. And I would say, check in with Big Bang, check in with Forbidden Planet, check in with Subcity, because I know they actually do it. And, they'll have a bunch of comics. So I just wanted to announce that straight off the bat because
No, I mean, there's so few, like, I know obviously there's a promotional angle to it, but there's so few relatively wholesome things you can just do and not
like
travel for and all that. They're definitely worth celebrating, like.
But also, I mean, it's weird that it's like Star Wars Day and Free Comic Book Day. That's the first time
If the High
happened.
Republic doesn't do something, then that's like, they're definitely lacking.
Yeah, I don't have the list in front of me. I know it's something like I think there's like 25, 26 comics. So like what's mad is you have a bag and like if you're there early enough, I mean I'm going to be there for opening. And you will get the full bag, So it's definitely worth it if you're if you're actually going for it. But even if you're not really into comics that much, it's still a good day out. I know they do stuff. There's like, specials on in the store. Yeah, it's just a good day. So, it's unfortunate when this is going out because they've missed it, but like definitely put that in your calendar.
What we should have done is we should have scripted as if we've just come back from it and talked about all the fictional things we did.
No, because that's
Hey, we're here. Look at all the stuff.
No, because then we need to have
Can you
props.
believe Mark Hamill's here in Forbidden Planet? Come talk to us, Mark.
No, Kane. We are journalists, sir. Sorry. So Cork.
On a good day, we rise to the level of content creators. Don't get uppity.
Don't get uppity. So, so Cork.
Yes.
Big thank you to Kaizokucon in Cork.
Yes, because
Look,
I believe you and Kev traveled down there to do a panel.
yes, myself, Kev, and Keith Smith from Horrenda, friend of the show, also often on the panels. Um, Look, we had a great time. I love Kaizokucon. I think it's one of the single best conventions you can actually go to, and there's a bunch of different reasons for it. Not only is it like, I mean, look, every convention has different things, right? Different reasons to go, different things you'll like, some things you might not like, but there's always something there. You know what I mean? And Kaizokucon, the worst thing about it is, from someone who's in Dublin or near enough to Dublin,
Hmm.
it's just how far it is. It's in Cork, and that it's a far trip, right? But
See, you say that, and my heart goes out to everyone, literally everyone outside of Dublin who has to commute to Dublin for every single thing, you
and
know?
that's my point. That's my point, right? I'm like, that is the only downside to it
Hmm.
because it is so well run. It's so fun. It's small and super dorky, super niche. The cosplayers are great. The staff are wonderful. They looked after us really, really well. The facility's great because it's out in the university. And look, it's wonderful. I mean, for a group of students running a convention, it always goes off without a hitch. We had a relatively full room, which was cool very early on the Saturday. And the crowd were great. They were really, really engaged. The show's up on the feed. And look, for me, it's a career highlight to do that live in person because I really like Kaizokucon. So look, we love doing DCC. We love doing any convention we're on, but Kaizokucon has a special place in my heart. So yeah, it was really, really fun. And also to do about Madam Web, that was
I was
also
gonna
like
say,
amazing.
are you gonna clue people in? Now, obviously they can just go listen to it, but what inspired you to go with this as the topic?
So what happened was, I went to go see Madam Web. How many times did I go see Madam? Like six or
I
seven
lost
times?
count at five.
Yeah, so six times or
Fi-
whatever.
5 times I'm aware of. That's 5 times you admit to.
Yeah, and basically what happened was we needed a thing to talk about basically, and in I just happened to be in the cinema watching Madam Web. I'm like, oh, we'll go with this.
You just happened to be in the cinema.
Yeah, I just happened to literally be watching
It's
Madam
like
Web
woke up
and
there, like.
but yeah, so that's what happened, basically.
Oh, and okay, I'm very much looking forward to hearing this now. And do you mind me asking? I know you've said a lot of things, but like, what sets this con apart from, say, the other Irish-based cons? Like, what makes it special?
It's more just like how, for want of a better word, small it is.
Okay,
You know, it's
like
small.
accessible, intimate, kind of like.
Yeah, it's small and it's focused and it's accessible. You
Mm,
know, as you said, like it really the thing about bigger conventions, right,
mm,
is that it can be very overwhelming.
yes.
You go to DCC or even if you go over to MCM in London, that's even bigger again. But you go to these massive conventions and there's hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, right? And it's just like I remember being in MCM and just seeing like the wave of humanity, you know?
Mm.
You're just like, whoa, that's very overwhelming. These smaller, and you can kind of get lost in the shuffle, you know, like you might not be able to go to panels because you don't know where they are. Or you can't even get from one side of the room to the other, you know,
Yeah.
which is what it's like in these bigger conventions in the States or in London. But with these smaller conventions, like I mean, it's pure passion. It's run by students on a limited budget using what they have. And what I think is great is, I mean, the creativity with the panels are super fun. You know, I mean, they're just like people like us that go in and they might have a show. It might be the first time. They might have done it a couple of times like us. But the topics are always really good. You know, the cosplayers, you really run the gambit. You get people just trying out the first time, and then you get people who are like super pro at it. And what I really like about it is accessibility. There's no pressure, you know, because it's a small college run thing.
Mm.
But in that is its charm. So if like it's kind of like JCon. JCon's the only thing I can really compare it to. But JCon is a bit is obviously a bit bigger because it's in usually in Crow Park and it's run by the Japanese government themselves. So even still, that's a bit too big, but the
Yeah.
way it's laid out, it's still quite small. At least with Kaizokucon, it's spread over the college, the trade halls in one area, the artist alleys in another, and then all the panels are in a completely different area, same with the guests. So I would say, the reason why I'm such a big fan of it is because again, some people just they go to cons, it's like, oh my God, this is a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people, and you have to go to a decompression room and blah blah blah. And I think that's not the best way to experience a convention.
Yeah, I mean, like we're
You know?
happy to have them, but if your convention has a quiet room, it is a signal that the rest of the rooms are the loud rooms, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, not even that in and of itself. I mean, that's great, and I do really like the buzz in DCC, for
Hmm.
example. We're not picking on DCC, just
No, no,
that's
I'm
that's
just
the
saying,
that's
like,
the
you
best
know, it's
comparison I can think of. Like
in,
that's
in terms of contrast, if you wanted to try it for the first time,
well, I'll put it to you this
somewhere
way, right?
smaller is like it might be the way to go. Like,
I'll put it to you this way, right? DCC is the WrestleMania of Irish conventions, right? It's the one that
okay,
we all look forward to. It's the biggest one of the year. It's like the Super Bowl of Irish conventions, right?
yeah,
This is like a local indie fed, like a small independent promotion where you get to experience it for the first time. That's the best way to kind of like for like. And again, literally everything is wrestling. Um, that's the best way. I mean, like there's a huge difference to going to WrestleMania and going to an independent show. Like a very good independent show, like the Irish
hmm,
OTT. I want to internationally recognized phenomenal indie promotion. But there's a huge difference between watching that show, which would be in the National Stadium,
yeah.
to watching WrestleMania, which was in the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium, which held about 80,000 people. They are very different. And that's, I think why I like Kazuki-Con is the same reason that people love independent promotions. There's more passion, it's smaller, it's accessible. People are just finding their feet or they're honing their craft. And it just has like this magic to it that you won't really get anywhere else. And like
Yeah, I
again, like
get you.
it's just like I just really appreciate people doing things. So whatever it is, cosplaying, panels, random nonsense, if people going off and just having a good time, sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle in the bigger shows because you're like, oh, I have to go here, I have to see this, have to go, have to see this person, go to this, buy this thing, blah blah blah. No, you don't get time to sit and just kind of like soak it in. And that's what smaller conventions offer.
That's very well put, I must say.
Thank you.
Now, as much as I'd love to talk about Cork all day because it is my ancestral home, I feel like we should talk about Star Wars now. So
Star
we
Wars. When are they
touched.
going to talk about Star Wars?
When are they gonna get to the fireworks factory? uh, but yes, we're gonna roll the dice on talking about Star Wars, which we did have to swear off for a little while. Because now it'll be at the tail end by the time this comes out. Happy Comic Day. But
Yes.
in honor of, I think is it Star Wars's anniversary or just the Phantom Menace's anniversary? But either way, they've re-released it into
No,
cinemas
okay,
this
okay,
week.
okay. So the reason why May 4th is Star Wars Day is not only because, May the 4th be with you, but it's
Mhm.
also because that's when Star Wars came out, 1977, May 4th, right?
Right. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So that's why it is. Um, so they're re-releasing all the movies into the cinema. Now they were supposed to do this about 10 years ago,
Hmm.
12 years ago, before the dark times, before Disney bought Star Wars
That's right. I remember seeing the Phantom Menace in 3D.
in
Yeah.
3D. Yeah, yeah. And they're like, oh, we're going to do the whole lot. And then they got bought and that was it. So they are actually going to release all these movies in the cinema. They're just starting off with the Phantom Menace.
Bold choice, I must say.
No, I mean, look, the Phantom Menace is always a fun time to watch in cinema. And then, I remember going to see it in the cinema when it came out. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to go see it on Sunday. But I will be stopping after Jedi. I will not sit through that trash.
Well,
again.
okay. You're talking 6 years down the line, assuming they don't put Rogue One in the middle.
Actually,
So
Rogue One would be great. I mean, I'd watch Rogue One again.
I'd watch that in 3D and Solo.
Yeah,
Like, but
Rogue One would
actually,
be
I'm
Solo actually
really
as well. I really like too. Yeah.
yeah, me too. But like, I really have a soft spot for the Phantom Menace. Admittedly, it is nostalgia goggles because I was
Oh yeah,
9
absolutely. Yeah.
when it came out, and I saw it 3 times in the cinema. But even so, I still to this day feel that like the sort of the thrashing it got in the court of public opinion was far too much. I mean, Jar Jar's fun for the kids. Like,
No,
I
look.
get why it's a sensitive thing,
No,
obviously.
no. Look, I mean, I
But
think.
like,
Look. I think what happened was people, not everybody,
like,
people went in with the expectation of it's going to be the same again. Which, you know what? Based on what came out beforehand, because remember, think back, right? And I don't know if you can because like I was 8 when The Force Awakens, no, not Force Awakens, when
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace came out, right? I was 8. It was 1999. I remember going seeing it in America because I was over with my uncle. I bought all the action figures. I still have them upstairs in their package. I literally have like a box of mint episode 1 figures.
Yeah.
All of them, every single one of them, right? So that's how cool of an 8-year-old I was. I never opened them.
I was doing the same, like,
But what I'm saying to you is, so before that, you had Heir to Empire, the books. You had Rogue Squadron. You had Rebel Assault 1 and 2. You had Jedi Knight, and they were all based after or in the middle of the OT, right? So it was all kind of the same stuff, but like a different story called Catan. And everybody was like, oh, it's going to be a continuation of Star Wars. It's going to look like this, right? And then all of a sudden, they don't get that. They get a jump back in time. They get to see what the Republic looked like. They get to see all this kind of stuff. And obviously, it looked different. I mean, that was probably the most jarring part. But at the same time, again, even if look, is the dialogue bad? Yes. Dialogue is really, really, really bad. Okay. However, here's the big legacy of the prequels for me, and I'll let you jump in a second.
Sure.
At the same time that episode 1 came out, the games exploded. The universe, it was like the Big Bang for the Star Wars universe. It exploded in all different ways. For the first time, they're like, oh my God, we can actually, it was freeing. Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic, novels everywhere you go, games, 6 games for each movie, talking about different things, novels like you wouldn't believe, comics, etc. And all that happened because people were like, oh, we can actually tell a story that doesn't revolve around the Skywalkers. And
Right.
I think that's the legacy of the prequels, that even if they hated it and the movie, look, the best thing about Star Wars is not the movies. It never has been. The best thing about Star Wars is Knights of the Old Republic too. Okay. Um, but at the same time, none of that would be possible without the prequels. And that's kind of why I'm so forgiven on them. And also episode 3 is legitimately phenomenal. But here's the thing. If you hate episode 1 and 2, which 2 is actually an admittedly hard watch for me, I will give you that. There's a great fan edit by Topher Grace. The guy from
I have gone looking for this. I can't find it.
you will find it, don't worry.
I have tried.
You will find it, don't worry. Um and basically it's an edit by Topher Grace, who's the guy from the 70s show, where he has edited the first 3 movies together in his own edit. And it's like a 2.5 hour movie, but he also uses bits from the Clone Wars and actually makes a really nice, cohesive narrative. It is a wonder to behold, and it's how I watched the prequels. So there you go. Keen, I'm sorry, I went on a bit of rant. Go for it.
No. It's just like because you seem to be approaching this from the prequels are bad, but it gave us this, this, and this. I don't really go in for the Star Wars expanded media apart from the likes of Rebels and Clone Wars and such.
Okay.
So I don't have that perspective at all. I just really, really enjoy the Phantom Menace. I feel
So
like
do I. Yeah,
it
I do
moves
too.
at a really fast click, and the special effects are better than the later two prequels. Weirdly enough, the
Yeah.
locations are great. It's lovely being back in proper Tatooine. I love the pod race. You've got the epic kind of fight in 3 or 4 locations near the end. Yeah, and people always talk about oh, the big long talky bits in Coruscant, and admittedly it does kill the pacing, but collectively it's probably less than 10 minutes of the movie. They spend longer chatting on Tatooine than they do in Coruscant. It's just that up until that point, I'm trying to think of a better comparison than Fury Road, but it's just the pace in the Phantom Menace. It's great for kids. It just doesn't let up. It's tailor made for video games because it just goes and goes and goes. It's almost I apologize to the people it may upset. It's almost like the movie has ADHD because it's just you're 3 minutes on the spaceship. Oh, quick, we're in the jungle. Oh, no, actually, no, we're out of the jungle. Okay, now we're underwater. Oh, we're gone. Okay, we're in Thebes, or that's not great. Oh, we're gonna hang out in. Oh no, we're gone. Oh, and we're on top. Okay, pod race time. Whoosh! It just goes and goes and goes. It's so quick, and it's
why?
I can still enjoy that as an adult now. Much more than some of the other Star Wars. I just really like that quality, that adventure quality to it.
It's because it's the purest Star Wars.
That's a good way of putting it.
It's exactly what George Lucas wanted to make. Because here's the thing. I mean, a lot of the OT is a product of compromise. It's a product of compromise
with very sensible people, but yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it literally is, right? This is the movie that nobody said no to George to.
Yeah.
He just made it. You can actually watch the Plinkett from Red Letter Media has done a lot of damage to these movies, but I do enjoy those.
I mean, he isn't incorrect.
He isn't incorrect. No, but I mean,
yes, I get what you mean. Yeah,
the bit that he pulls out where it's a documentary while they're making it, it's very insightful as well. But this is what George wanted to make. I do believe that. I think this is the closest thing to the campy Flash Gordon serials.
I thought you were going to say the bit where George Lucas goes, I think I've gone a bit too far.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, even he was aware of that, right? And he had to kind of pull it back a bit, but it's still it's much more pure Star Wars than Empire, which wasn't made by George Lucas at all. It's much more Star Wars than A New Hope, which was edited by George Lucas's wife. So for better or for worse, you get a much more richer slice of Star Wars from Episode 1 than you do pretty much from anywhere else. Again, I love Empire. I really like Episode 3. On some days, Episode 3 is my favorite Star Wars movie.
I can see that, yeah.
But you get such an what you're talking about, the ADHD kind of jumping around kind of thing. In that you get a slice, a proper slice of so many planets, so many different cultures, so many different vibrant areas where you're okay, Star Wars exists in a world, in a universe that isn't just sand. It's all this other stuff, and because it was all this other stuff, it was able to be mined and expounded upon for different media. And that's why I think the Episode 1 should be celebrated, because if it wasn't for that, you would be getting sand. That's all you'd be getting.
Well, more than that, I mean, the original Star Wars trilogy is obviously the high point, but equally, it's a story that has a beginning, middle, and end. Now, obviously, the Phantom Menace is connected through Anakin and such, and Obi-Wan and all that, but only tentatively. It is still more than Episodes 2 and 3. It is very much its own movie with its own tone.
Yeah,
that begins, middles, and ends. Yeah. It's, to me, apart from maybe A New Hope, it is the most complete film that doesn't rely on what comes before it or after it. Do you know what I mean?
That's a
Like,
very good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, I didn't even consider that before, but you are right. I mean, you could watch episode one
hmm.
and not watch any other Star Wars media
Yeah,
and
it's
still
perfect for
walk
playing
away
on
with something.
RTE on Saturdays. Like,
But you know what else, right? There's a really, not a really good book, but it is an interesting read.
yeah.
The Darth Plagueis book that came out. I don't know if it's canon or not anymore. I'm not sure, but I would recommend people read that because it's a companion piece to episode one. It's episode one told from a different perspective. So
Okay.
it's the way it's written is actually wonderful. Um, it's literally because Darth Plagueis is in the movie. He's one of the tall
Okay.
lads. He's actually in the film for like a split second, and it's him and Palpatine talking about what's going on and planning, the major coup that they're getting ready to do. But it just lines up so perfectly with the film that when you're watching it again, you're like, oh wow, I missed this, or this links up perfectly. And it's like a fun thing that you can do because there's room to, even though it kind of jumps around a lot, there's still room to breathe. Like for example, you're jumping from Coruscant to Naboo. Sorry, you're jumping from Coruscant to Naboo, off Naboo to Tatooine, back, right? But every time you're doing a jump, there's still stuff happening. There's still the blockade, there's still the trade dispute, there's still the war, there's still the intrigue, there's still the political discussions that are all hinted upon in the movie. But because they're not given time and because it is jumping around, it leaves these gaps. Now these gaps can be, again, that could be bad filmmaking. Some people, like even red letter media, they're like it's bad filmmaking. I don't think so. I don't think the point of the Phantom Menace was to be a fully complete movie. It's supposed to be, it's all set up, but within the setup, it's still a complete movie.
Hmm.
But you get that nice sweet spot where it's like, yeah, are there gaps? Absolutely. Will they be filled in later? Probably not. They were filled in later with the expanded universe, but you also get this kind of, as a result, you get this like lovely again slice this universe that you don't get anywhere else. Just it's the richest Star Wars movie. Let's put it that way. Where
Yeah.
like you look at the visual dictionary because I still have it somewhere, and it's thicker than all the other ones because it's going through all this stuff that is in this movie compared to the third one where it's like Clone Trooper A, Clone Trooper B, Clone Trooper C.
Well, that's just it. The critical failure of the Phantom Menace, I think, hampered episodes 2 and 3 because 2 and 3, whether you love 3 more than Phantom Menace or whatever,
Which I
they are
do.
much more
Which I do.
restrained. Do you know what I mean? Like everything, like obviously green screen goes some way towards this, but like I just feel like those two movies are much more sterile. Like they're not as fun and like lively and imaginative and all this kind of stuff. And it's hard to put into words, but I just feel like how like The Hobbit, the book came out, like
Yes.
was for kids, and then The Lord of the Rings came out like 10 years later, and
Yes.
that was for those kids, but grown up.
Yes.
I feel like what you're alluding to with the media and stuff and all that, the extended media, I should say, is that like Star Wars, the original movies came out, and then the audience grew up, but they made the Phantom Menace for the new generation of kids.
Yeah.
And the audience that grew up with the original movies hated it because it was made for kids. It's not a perfect movie. I'm saying it's a kids movie doesn't let it off the hook. There are kids movies like the likes of Pixar and stuff that audiences that are grown up can enjoy.
See,
Most of the people I know who watch Bluey are adults without children. But I'm just saying that like they may have made a tactical error for not making it for the inbuilt Star Wars audience,
No, I would disagree.
Oh, really? Okay.
I would disagree. When's the first time you saw Star Wars?
Probably 7 or 8.
So my earliest memory is seeing Star Wars.
Okay.
I was like 4 or 5 and I had like a really, really bad flu. My parents rented the first Star Wars movies for me.
Sweet.
That was it. All right, so that's one of my earliest memories. And a lot of people are the same. Between 4 to 8 is when you see Star Wars and then you become a lifelong fan. So I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters so much. The problem, those fans, those kids, were going to watch Star Wars either way. And it's funny,
Yeah.
whenever you encounter somebody who doesn't like Star Wars because they didn't see it, and even if they watch it as an adult, it's not the same thing. Star Wars doesn't hit properly for adult audiences because it's not for them. You know, you're not supposed like it's an adventurous stereo. Like there are stuff in Star Wars because in the IP that you can enjoy, but if you don't
Yeah.
have that connection, I mean, it's not gonna do anything. You're gonna think it's silly, or you're just not gonna have that emotional receptiveness to enjoy some of the deeper lore of Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't think that's the issue. It's for kids. I'm like, look, that really doesn't matter, right? It's a simple story, absolutely. It's a story of how democracy can be through corruption and through failing and through not understanding the will of the people can be manipulated, has been manipulated, and will continue to be manipulated into something that is truly abhorrent or evil. And that's the story of Star Wars, ladies and gentlemen, and even how good people, the best of the Jedi, can be corrupted into the worst. Like that is the story. We've been telling the story over and over again. History's repeated over and over again. You name a republic, it eventually declines because of corruption or whatever. I mean, it's history books. What Star Wars the Skywalker saga does basically, it does two things. The OT tells Hero a Tales and Bases, which Joseph Campbell is all over it, and the prequel trilogy is about that decline of how democracy is corrupted. So that's a story it's telling. Now, is it boiled down for kids? Absolutely, because that's a big thing to posit to kids. But that's the whole point of it, right? It's like it's a morality tale. It's to educate and also enlighten the kids with laser swords. But I think the problem that these people who hated the particularly the first movie, I think it honestly comes down to they were expecting it to look and feel exactly like the first couple of movies.
Right.
They're the people that loved and probably still do episode 7. They're the J.J. Abrams. They're the people who are like, oh, finally, Star Wars. I remember hearing all that garbage when that came out. Oh,
Mm.
finally, Star Wars is back. Oh, this feels and looks like Star Wars. And it's like, no, it feels and looks like the first movie. It looks like A New Hope. That's what it is. And that is so sterile and boring.
Mm.
And that's who was pleased by that. That's why that movie did gangbusters. It's why and look how that turned out. I don't want to go into that topic, but look how that turned out. I mean, you can still go back and watch
But
the
that's
prequel.
but you basically said what I was planning on saying,
Okay.
which is like episode 7. I don't hate episode 7. I became a lawyer to defend it at
did.
Comic-Con.
You did.
But
A successful one, I might add. You did win today.
By a margin, but yes. But that is the route they could have gone with episode 1, even tonally, even if they're going to do a prequel, to make it for the audience that remembers the original. And I think that the Phantom Menace, like you said, it's this weird little island in all the Star Wars movies, because all the other Star Wars, apart from episode 4, but now even episode 4, because they've added in like bloody Rogue One and all that kind of stuff, the Phantom Menace is like the least referential to all the others, despite it having C-3PO and Obi-Wan and all that kind of stuff.
But
it's sort of at this point the only one that's just a movie, and not then this becomes this, then this becomes this. I mean, even that's why it was so befuddling. Where did you watch Tales of the Jedi last year?
No, I didn't get around to it.
It was really, really good. And like what you were saying with your Plagueis book, it's basically 3 of the shorts are young Qui-Gon and young Count Dooku.
Right.
Kind of growing up and kind of becoming who they are. And so you see what happens alongside the Phantom Menace and what Dooku's doing there and what he's doing while all of the stuff with Padme is going down in the Senate. And it's really good. It's really good, but it's so bizarre because like Phantom Menace is like the least kind of associated with other medias. Even Anakin is different between episodes 1 and 2,
You see, it was fertile.
Mm.
It actually it allowed stuff to grow from it, right? And in a creative way and in a positive way. And that is the legacy of of episode one and the genius that Lucas was always great at being collaborator, right? He always allowed better creative people play in a sandbox and make really good things because he was like, no, that's bad. Let's fix this or whatever. The difference now, and again, I would say, look, I know I'm going to beat this horse to death, but look what's happening with Disney, where they have no plan. They have no idea what's going on, and it's either they're cynically make money, cynically push a message, or cynically,
Yeah.
uh, just make more Star Wars. I don't know which one it is. It kind of depends because they'll just do random stuff that makes no sense. There's no editorial hand. Now, I don't really care what editorial hand that is, but there isn't one. And with Lucas, there always was. So with episode one, was the movie great? It can be. It has its
Well, I'm
moments.
not. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It doesn't even succeed in having a point of view character. You
No,
know,
it doesn't. I mean, Obi-Wan would have made the most sense, but
that is. I mean, that is the received wisdom, or Padme,
yes.
or like
Or
even
anyone.
starting.
Anyone.
Imagine starting on Tatooine and having these weirdos show up, and then you like the first time you see a lightsaber is when Qui-Gon like brushes like his cape and that kind of stuff.
But
You
what
obviously
no
you'd have to change the whole movie,
no
but like.
what I'm saying is though, right? I mean, you're 100% correct.
Hmm.
But in its foibles, in its weirdness as a movie, it was still it birthed like modern Star Wars. I would posit that Star Wars would not be the IP worth 4 billion when it was bought without the prequels. And the reason why, it's not so much because of the movies. Again, the best thing about Star Wars is not the movies.
Yeah.
Never has been. It's the media around it, it's the games, it's the world, it's the toy box, you can experience that on Galaxy's Edge. A lot of the stuff that's in Galaxy's Edge, even though it's sequel, it's not really. I mean, they have Sabak, they have the chance cubes. A lot of stuff that's in Galaxy's Edge is from the prequels. There's very few things that are actually OT, and the sequels is purely cosmetic.
Hmm.
It's very interesting when you think about it. I think that disconnect was lost on the fan base in the 90s because again they were like, oh, we're gonna have more of these adventures. It's like, no, that's not what they're doing here. They're
Well, it's
setting up
it's
for much
not
bigger
just
things.
that, but like I suppose to go back to the Red Letter Media thing, like, if they hadn't made more than three Star Wars movies, it would have been like, say, Back to the Future and Indiana Jones and all that kind of stuff. It would have been three things that were kind of timeless, but also locked into the decade they were made.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, they've tried to bring back Indiana Jones twice now, but they kind of left it sitting too long, and now it's too much of its generation.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Star Wars, the OT Star Wars are timeless, but also you can't really go back to that well again, which is why I
Hmm.
was so like the time to do the sequel trilogy was ironically when people expected it to come out in the 90s.
Right.
The sequel trilogy should have been made in the 90s, right? It absolutely should have been made in the 90s. 91 to about 95.
Oh, could
That
you imagine, like, as bad as the green screen stuff is, could you imagine it with like Roland Emmerich levels, like mid 90s CGI?
no, see, I don't think they would have done that. Like Lucas has always been on the cutting edge of that stuff. Like that technology would have been there a lot sooner, right?
Okay, take your
But
word for it.
no, I mean, but here's the thing: like, they don't. If it's a sequel to Jedi, like, it's all going to be practical effects. Realistically, like, I mean, think about it. It's going to be practical effects to do Tron and stuff like that, right? If you're going to do Heir to Empire, they should have done it in the 90s. Okay, that's what they should have done, and
Yeah.
that's what those books were and are. That's your sequel to Star Wars. It's Heir to Empire in those books. So doing that in the early 2000s made no sense. Doing the prequels made sense because like, wait, we can actually tell a much bigger, vibrant story here with
Hmm.
these much larger worlds, these worlds that can't be brought to life with puppets. I mean, you can't really bring Gungans to life with puppets. That is a hard thing to do.
I disagree. How good would Jar Jar have looked if he was like a Jim Henson
Have you
puppet?
seen the production? Have you seen the production? Like them
I
actually
have
shitting
not.
Jar Jar?
I have
Really
not.
bad.
No.
Really bad. So be
Like,
careful.
what was that sci-fi show the Jim Henson Company did? Like,
Oh, I
the
can't
puppets
remember.
on that look great.
I can't remember, but yeah, it's just like Star Wars is of its time, but it's also not. I think it's like it takes the best of its time and
Farscape,
becomes
sorry, that's what it was called. Farscape.
yeah. Star Wars takes the best of its time and makes it timeless. And we missed that in the 90s because, like, I mean, don't know what George was doing, but it wasn't Star Wars.
Getting divorced and helping other people make their movies for a decade.
But there
And
you
young
go.
Indiana
I mean,
Jones.
here's the thing. Not even Indiana Jones, but like ILM made Jurassic Park, right? So
Yeah,
there are these massive jumps that were happening,
yeah.
and I
But
think
that's something I really respect about Lucas. He's not
selfish.
I
He's not
suppose
selfish.
you reference wrestling, so I'll reference it.
Sure.
There's that quote about the Undertaker where there's most wrestlers are like at the top of the hill throwing rocks down, saying "Get off my mountain,"
Yeah.
whereas the Undertaker's the one throwing the rope down, saying "Come up here, the air's good." George Lucas seems to be one of those people who actually wants to lift up other people
Yes.
and give
Exactly.
them support and a chance, and doesn't really seek credit for it either.
No, I mean,
I'd say that work has probably had more far-reaching effects than Star Wars has, even.
well, that's what I've even said to like the best stuff that was made from Star Wars wasn't made by George Lucas. It was made by allowing people in the toy box to make their own thing, which is what.
Oh yeah, like Lord of the Rings he worked on. He
Yeah,
showed
absolutely.
them I think we mentioned this on a different episode. He showed the Lord of the Rings team like some of the Mustafar like digital storyboards, and that made it that helped them realize things like the Balrog and stuff.
Yes.
And like then you've got the likes of the first digital effect in Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, it's
Yeah.
all of these like he encouraged his like digital team to just go work for other people and do as much as they can so that they'd have something for when
But
Star Trek. So he was essentially encouraging his own team to
but
go
here's the
try
thing
and
is
help other people.
well here's
Like
the
that's unheard of
but here's the
in
thing as
like the
well. Like
Hollywood system. Like,
there was Star Wars media in the 90s,
mm.
and it again it was I don't think it was helped. I don't think it helped prepare people for what they saw. Like Jedi Knight 2 is all FMV, right? And I really like Jedi Knight 2. I really do. It's campy and it's, awkward, and the FMVs, they are what they are.
I've got it downloaded on the Switch. I'm looking forward to playing it.
Yeah, and the acting, that's Dark Forces 1. Dark Forces 2 is after it. Hopefully that comes out soon. But the FMVs are what they are. But I mean, that was the first time that load of those sets were used. And then Rebel Assault 1 and 2 came out. Rebel Assault 2 had all the FMVs, and that was the first time a lot of those props were used
Mm.
since Jedi. So people were honestly and legitimately so expecting it to look like that. Um, so I mean, you kind of, if you wanted to see what Star Wars could have looked like with no budget, look at that. And that's still, and no, I mean, and that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
But imagine it with a budget. Imagine it with a movie.
Mm.
It still would have been really, really, really good. And I think that's one of the greatest losses or sad what ifs, where it's like, oh, if we had got the sequel trilogy in the 90s, But then again, if we
See,
had got,
I disagree. I think if you went straight into, Star Wars 4, not like obviously A New Hope, but the fourth installment in the 90s, like I felt like I feel like it could have accidentally gone down the Planet of the Apes route,
you took the
where
took,
just
you
one
took the
comes
words
out
out,
every 2 or 3 years. Now you've got Rocky. Rocky stood the test of time, and
but
every one of those is brilliant.
but you took
But they're few and far between.
yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that. I was like, I could have like lessened it.
Yeah.
Look, I think this is the best case scenario we had. Disney buying Star Wars, I will posit it's still one of the worst thing that's ever happened in entertainment, because not for because they bought it. I mean, Disney has always sort of owned Star Wars. Uh, it's because they don't have an editorial hand. They don't have a plan. They're just doing stuff. And my hope would be, I'm assuming we're almost out of time.
2 minutes.
But
In the
no,
last 2 minutes, is there anything you'd like to say about the Phantom Menace that has not been said before? Not an easy task.
I'll finish on this instead, right? My overall hope for the Star Wars franchise looking forward is that I hope from now, when they are re-releasing these movies, and they're going to make serious money, people are going to go see them. They're probably not going to go see the second one. They're probably not going to go see the sequels, right? My hope is that when the box office come in and Disney are like, whoa, people still really like Star Wars. They just like this kind of Star Wars. That they think, okay, why do they like this Star Wars? It's a good story with a plan and a vibrant franchise that can live on past it. Will they do that? I don't know. But the good way to send the message to Disney with this is like, go see the movies. Go have a good time. Go and take your kids. I mean, you have kids, Keen. I don't know if they've seen Star Wars or not, but
Oh, they've seen Star Wars. They've seen the Phantom Menace and liked it. Yeah.
well, there you go. I mean, like, there's a whole new generation that are coming up that can actually see Star Wars in the cinema for the first time. Which, you know what? That's a huge thing because that does not happen often. That is still a big event. We are about to witness and live through a huge event where you'll actually be able to go see Empire in the cinema. I've seen Empire in the cinema one time when I was 8 years old. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm sure, a lot of people are out there as well. Kids are going to be able to see it for the first time. And the great thing about this is if the box office are huge, because I know Ant-Man was a colossal failure, it turns out, lost like more money than any other Disney movie to date. That's how we'll probably get a change. And, that actually might right the ship and we'll get something decent. They need something with a plan because what Star Wars doesn't have right now is a plan. I don't really care what plan it is, what message it's saying, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't matter. It just needs to have an actual solid plan. And it doesn't have one. But these movies did. So I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Okay, first off, I want to thank Dara for actually not raising your voice or throwing anything in a half an hour Star Wars discussion. We've both come a long way since the last time.
I've just come back from an hour of an extremely intense taekwondo class. So
that would explain it. Okay.
I'm exhausted. I'm barely awake.
All right. Well, listen, you can find us. I mean, you've already found us, but if you want to check out other things such as the panel, which we discussed, that is up on our Spotify and our website, Nerd to Know Media. We want to thank you for joining us on this wonderful May the 4th and Free Comic Day. We'll be back next week with, to be honest, I'm not going to say the plan because it always goes out the window, but we'll be covering the newest theatrical releases and, of course, the return of Doctor Who, which will be on the day the next one goes out. But until then, I've been Cian.
I've been Dara.
And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.